The world of Tyria has known conflict, chaos, and generations of war. Rarely has there been a time of peace in these troubled lands. The years since the ascension of Cormyr and the defeat of the Great Destroyer have been no different. There have been dangers, there have been adventures. The world is no longer the Tyria it once was, and yet so many things are the same beneath her troubled exterior. Sleeping monsters, eons old, have awakened. They crawled from beneath the earth, razor claws sinking into stone and ground over a world that has not seen their like in millennia. And where they rose, they dominated the world around them, twisting it to serve their purposes. The first of these, Primordius, gathered minions to replace the destroyers that once served its cause and began to overrun the caverns beneath the earth, gradually pressing the Asura to the surface. Gunnar's hold fell to monsters of ice, and the Norn were driven southward into the empty territory that had once been held by the dwarves. The Char had a tentative friendship with the Norn, respecting their sense of power and personal strength. To the south, the peninsula of Or has risen from the ocean, flooding the coasts with tidal waves. Sanctum Cay, Delesio Seaboard, and the Battle Isle sank beneath the waves, and even Lion's Arch was so completely flooded by the cataclysmic upheaval that the great city had to be abandoned. Its buildings collapsed in the flood. The corsair ships that once hid amongst the sunken isles of Or capsized, and only a few ships made it out of the tidal areas. Those that did settled amongst the ruined northern coast, steering clear of the black-masted ships that began sailing the Orient territories. The lost souls of Or, commanded by a dark power from below the sea, rose to take command of the land freed from the depths of the sea. Strange races, the Norn, the Asura, and the mysterious Sylvari, took over large portions of the continent. Their civilizations pushed the humans north and west away from their ancestral lands. These races have solidified their presence in Tyria and now take an active role in the events around them. Over the last 250 years, the races of Tyria have seen a great deal of strife and war. Conflicts between the humans and the Char, the Norn and any who might challenge them, and among the other sentient races, have continually threatened the peace of the continent. But these are not the only issues. Although sentient races are one threat, there are, as always, wild creatures and monsters across the countryside, dangers to be faced and troubles to be conquered. But on Tyria, there are even worse things yet to be faced. The cataclysms that tore apart the land and flooded Lion's Arch were not caused by natural forces, no more than were the earthquakes that freed the destroyers from the northern Shiver Peaks. These were both caused by the surfacing of ancient powers, true dragons, more dangerous than anything Tyria has ever known before. Glint and Kunavang were but youths, lesser powers to the ancients that came before. These mystic and terrifying creatures rival the gods themselves. Primordius was the first of the ancient dragons to awaken, calling his servants from their slumber. With his breath, he twisted earth and stone, shaping creatures and giving them life. Although the death of the Great Destroyer, his most powerful general, set back the dragon's awakening by 2 generations, Primordius once again rose to create ever more minions far beneath the ground. To this day, he continues to spread his power throughout the deep caverns beneath Tyria. After Primordius, the other great dragons began to stir one by one. The rise of the dragon beneath Or caused the entire continent to surface, sparking a tidal wave that swept the coastlines and drowned thousands. In the deepest waters of the sea, another dragon breathed, twisting the waters themselves into tentacled horrors that rose from every lake and every river of the land. Only a few years ago, yet another dragon erupted from the northern mountains and flew south over the Char territory of Ascalon. The land below the path of the dragon's flight was corrupted, becoming a crater of horror. The ground blackened from the dragon's presence, and any creatures caught within the wind of its breath twisted and changed. Although these creatures are called dragons, they are different from Cunavang and Glint as knights today. More powerful, older, born of different, unfathomable magic. These horrors are controlled by no god, nor any other power known to the races of Tyria. What connection they have to these younger dragons is unknown, but they certainly do not possess the mercy or the familiarity with the sentient races of the world that Cunavang or Glint portray. The cycle of their awakening reaches back to the time of the Giganticus Lupicus, and even further back into prehistory. The only thing known about these monsters is that they have no pity, no curiosity, no concern at all for the other races of the world. Their only goal seems to be to dominate, to control, and to destroy. This reading of The Movement of the World will continue tomorrow.